In this issue, we're going to be talking about judging in professional boxing. Welcome to the DO Boxing Show. I'm your host, Dameon Okposio. It's the summertime and I'm getting sick, so apologize for any upcoming sniffles because I think they're going to be inevitable. And my red eyes. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about judging in professional boxing. A lot of controversy. There's always been controversy when it comes to judging and refereeing. And just because it's different from what people see. But this episode specifically, we're going to talk about judging because most notably, the latest controversy was over the Pacquiao-Horn card. So Manny Pacquiao fought an Australian fighter named Jeff Horn recently. And, you know, it looked like Pacquiao won the fight, but the judges gave the scorecard gave the fight to Jeff Horn in a close fight, and I had Pacquiao winning the actual fight, but what I wanted to do, number one, is break down judging a little bit without getting too technical. So there's different things that professional fight judges can judge on, and every jurisdiction will have their own set of rules and criteria. Even sanctioning organizations will have different rules when it comes to scoring fights. So in order to have an educated opinion on how the fight is being judged, you almost have to see, okay, where is the fight taking place? What are all the rules? But there's certain things that should be universal in judging, but a lot of it is still subjective. Some judges will count the number of punches that a fighter throws, whether those punches are hard or soft. So as long as you're tapping someone, some judges will believe that person that's landing more punches is the winner. Some judges will judge on damage. So, somebody might hit you 10 times and you don't feel it, but they hit you once and you go reeling backwards, or you hit the canvas. Hitting the canvas and getting knocked down is another part of scoring. But, somebody pitter-pats you and they're just touching you to score or position you, as opposed to somebody who's punching you and damaging you very, very noticeably. Some judges will judge the person that lands the one hard punch as more effective as the one that's landing a lot of light punches. Some judges will judge aggressiveness, and that means coming forward. Sometimes they will judge what's called effective aggressiveness, and that means it's not just a fighter plodding forward, because you can plod forward and come straight ahead and still absorb a lot of punishment on the way in and not have any proper technique. Or you can be someone that goes ahead forward, but you're moving forward on angles, you're slipping punches, you're cutting off the ring, and that's called effective aggressiveness. So judges will give extra points for those different intangible traits that a fighter will display during a fight. If you get knocked down, it's usually a 2-point round. If you're scoring on a 10-point must system, 10-point must system means that one fighter must get 10 points, and then, both fighters are starting off with 10 points, and then one fighter will lose points if they have lost that particular round. They'll lose 2 points if they get knocked down. If they get knocked down twice, they'll lose 3 points. So that's kind of the general gist of the popular scoring that's out there. and it's usually the 10-point must scoring system that a lot of professional boxing uses. So sometimes it can be really controversial. That fight was very controversial with Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao. I had Pacquiao winning that fight. I felt that Pacquiao was landing the more effective punches. I felt he controlled the fight even though Jeff Horn was coming forward. Pacquiao, I believe, was still able to hit Jeff Horn when he wanted to. Jeff Horn was making it a very tough, rough and tumble fight, head-butted, and Pacquiao sustained damage, but the damage that Pacquiao sustained wasn't all as a result of the punches. Some of it was a result of the headbutts and the different roughhousing tactics that were taking place during the fight, and Pacquiao almost had Jeff Horn out in the 9th round. He was a smaller of the two fighters, and he looked like he was controlling it and was dominant. Not throughout the whole fight. Jeff Horn did have his moments, but I believe that Pacquiao did win that fight. The other thing I wanted to indicate is that you can have a very close fight where each round is close, and Darrell Wambold is the one that pointed this out to me. And he's a person that watches a lot of boxing matches, as do I. But he made a really excellent point where you can be watching a fight. Every round could be extremely close, and the person might just be edging that round for a little bit, and so they win that round. And if you are siding on that fighter's set of assets and how they're fighting the fight, even though they're just edging the round, and it could be an extremely close fight, you can still end up with a scorecard that looks like it is very wide at the end of the fights. So like this is a deal scorecard that I have here, but it has all the requirements that a regular scorecard would need. And so if it's a close fight and you're scoring it for one fighter, and you're giving them a 10-9 round each round, you're going to end up with a scorecard of 120 to 108. This could have been a very close fight, but the score is not going to be very close. So that brings me to my next point, which 978 Diplomats 34, that YouTuber, made an excellent point, and it was brought to my attention by Joe Consolilla of... he's got his own channel as well, Joey's Boxing and MMA channel. 978 Diplomats 34, excuse me, sorry. He said that why not turn make the judges celebrities. I agree with that 100%. He said it would revolutionize boxing. I completely agree. If you had the judges as celebrities, just like the fighters, but their age, their experience, had they fought before, how did they get into judging? And then at the end of the fights, you interview them and ask them to explain their cards. Hey, why did you score this round for that person? Why did you score the round for that? I think that it would bring a lot more accountability, number one, to the sport, and it would lend a lot more to building the credibility of boxing in other people's minds instead of something that just happens behind the scene. As Teddy Atlas has said passionately, he believes that some scoring, sometimes it's either incompetence or corruption, and if it's not one, it's the other. Well, I agree with him to a certain extent. I believe that those two factors do take place, incompetence or corruption, but there's other factors, like this factor that I explained here. And, if a referee had a score like this in a very close fight, 120 to 108, they would scream corruption. But if the referee had an opportunity to explain it, like I explained it just now, on how you can actually get a score like that in a very close fight, then people would be more understanding, and they would say, oh yeah. And it would also make the fight game more interesting to the fight fans at home, because they would be able to keep track of the scoring themselves and be able to know what's going on. So I think the important thing about building a fan base is having them know what's going on behind the scenes as well, where they could actually step into the boots of being a referee or a judge, and they may not know everything, but they have that basic understanding of, okay, this is how it occurs, this is how things run, and then that makes it more intriguing and understanding for them. A lot of people don't like technical boxers like Guillermo Rigondeaux because they can't pick up what he's doing. They don't understand when he's setting up a fighter. They don't see over the rounds how he systematically breaks people down. And if you don't understand that, it's like watching paint dry. It's like me watching golf. I don't know anything about golf. And, just waiting around to see if you see a hole in one, or see how many times it takes for somebody to get the golf ball into the hole. Like, I'm sure there's a lot more dynamics to that sport. I've tried it a couple times. I was terrible at it, so I know that there's an incredible amount of technique and practicing that goes into it. So it's about understanding the game. Us in the boxing media definitely have to do a better job of explaining these things, breaking them down. But I thought that 978 Diplomats 34, want to give him a shout out. Joe Consigliere, want to give him a shout out. Joey's boxing and MMA blog. I want to give a shout out as well, because this was an excellent YouTube episode, and I think that the idea is fantastic. It's a great idea. Let's make the boxing judges celebrities, and interview them, and then they'll create a better understanding of the game, and people understand more what's happening, and we'll be able. It'll create another level of transparency. That's all I have to say on that topic. Remember, you can ask us any questions related to boxing by sending us a message through Twitter at DOKPOSIO, through email okposio@hotmail.com, and don't forget to subscribe to get every episode of the DO Boxing Show. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.